Tell your dad I said hi.
Okay, I will. All right, could you introduce
Tell your dad
yourself?
Okay, I am
Okay.
Frank Desguin.
I will. All right, could you introduce yourself? How long have
Okay,
you been
I
in
am
Punta
Frank
Gorda?
Desguin. I was born in Punta Gorda.
And how long
November
have you been
5th,
in Punta Gorda?
1951. I was born in Punta Gorda.
Love it. Okay. What's
November
your
5th,
earliest
1951.
memory of Love it. Punta Gorda, and then
What's
by
your
proxy your
earliest
childhood
memory
since,
Oh gosh, my earliest memory.
by proxy your childhood since. you grew
Oh
up here?
gosh, my earliest memory. I just growing up on the, I grew up on the bay on the waterfront. I just growing up on the, I grew up on the bay on the waterfront in Charlotte Harbor. Growing up on the water, north side of the bridge, swimming and just growing up on the water. Of course, my family was in the theater business. The beach, and then, of course, my family was in the theater business when I was really little. So, going to the theater to watch movies when I was really little. Do you know where Ace Hardware is downtown? That the parking lot for Ace Hardware is where the theater was. Do you know where Ace Hardware is downtown?
How long does
That
the
the
theater
parking
go?
lot for Ace Hardware is where the theater was.
Well, I'm not sure.
How long
I
is
don't
the
know
theater?
exactly when when it was built.
Well, I'm not sure.
They
I don't
moved
know
down
exactly
in
when
1936 when it was built. When my dad was 10 years old, they moved down in 1936. When my dad was 10 years old, it operated until upstate New York. 1963, and in the meantime they also bought the drive-in, which was 1963. In the meantime, they also bought the drive-in. Television came along. Charlotte Harbor really hurt the movie business. So, and of course, when they television eventually closed, the really hurt the movie theater downtown, but operated. They eventually closed the until 1968 theater downtown, but operated the
And
drive-in until 1968.
what was going to school
And-
like in Punta Gorda? Where'd you go to school?
Well, I
What
went to
was
Sally
going to school
Jones.
like
That
in
was the
Punta
only
Gorda? Where'd you
elementary
go to
school
school?
at the time. Well, I went to Sally Jones. That was the only elementary school at the time.
And then
I went to Sally Jones first through third 1960 they had built
And
St.
then,
Charles Borromeo. In 1960 they had built St. Charles. 1960 was his first year of operations. Catholic school. I went to St. Charles. 1960 was his first year of operations. So, and then I went to St. Charles 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. After that, and then
And what is,
Punta Gorda
if you
Junior
can
High.
recall, like maybe your
After
first
that.
memory of being aware
what
of
is-
race, if you can recall, like
Of
maybe
race?
your first memory of being aware of race.
Gosh, of race.
Yeah.
Where, I don't know,
Gosh.
everybody was the same as far as we were concerned. Where, I don't know, everybody was
But
the
I
same.
mean-
as far
I
as
mean,
we
I
were
tell
concerned.
stories that,
But I
mean, I
tell stories that,
that,
because I was the oldest.
I spent a lot of time with my grandparents.
5 siblings. Because I was the oldest, I got farmed out to the grandparents. 5 siblings, to give mom and dad a break.
So,
We got farmed out to the grandparents with quite a bit, to give mom and dad a break with the little kids. I've told her, we used
But,
to, I don't remember having any black friends when I was really little. More, I don't remember having junior high school. Black friends when I was really little. More, my parents
into
told us
junior
stories,
high
we had
school.
Black kids coming around all the time playing. My parents
but I
told us
just don't
stories
remember
that,
it.
we had black
really
kids
little.
coming around all the time
Was
playing.
that something that was
But I just
seen
don't
as, like,
remember it.
taboo?
'Cause I was really little. I
Was that
never got the
something that was
impression
seen as,
from
like,
my grandparents
taboo?
or my parents. I never got the impression
although
from my
now that you-
grandparents or my
thinking
parents.
about it,
I do.
although
my,
now that you
other
thinking about it,
my mom's.
I do.
parents,
My
my
other
granddad
grandparents,
my
my
mom's
owned the lumber yard
parents,
at
one of the lumber yards in town, and my
my
grandmother
granddad
was a teacher.
owned the
So
lumber
they both
yard at
worked
one of the
all
lumber
day.
yards
They
in
did
town, and my
have a
grandmother
black
was a teacher.
housekeeper. So they
Miss
both
Shelley,
worked all day. They did
who
have a
kept the
black
house for 'em,
housekeeper. Cooked lunch for
Miss
my
Shelley,
granddad. He'd come home for lunch.
who
Kept the house for him. Cooked lunch for
took
my
care of the
granddad.
places
He'd
that
come
were
home for
both
lunch.
working all day.
We didn't go out. And that was when I was really
took
little.
care of
So
the
our
places
guys
that
are
were
both
both
working
working
all
all
day.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
What do
when
you
I was
remember
really little,
about
so
her?
our guy certainly
Just she was
remember
really
her.
nice, real friendly, and
What do you remember about
You know,
her?
just she was really nice,
Do you
real
remember
friendly,
your
and
first encounter with,
Yeah.
or just a
What-
significant encounter?
do you remember
with,
your
like, someone
first
else's
encounter
racism or an
with-
event
or
where
just
race
a
was
significant
a topic?
encounter
with like
Yeah,
someone
I
else's
mean-
racism or an event where race was.
when
a
we were
topic?
growing, once we got into high school,
I mean,
when
my
we were
brother
growing,
and I,
once we got
Louis,
into
he's
high
only,
school, a couple
my brother
years
and
behind
I,
me, 16
Louis,
months,
he's
16
only,
months younger than me. A couple years behind me, 16 months.
16
When we got
months
into high
younger
school
than
and of
me.
course participate in sports,
Um,
you get. But when we got into high
black kids
school and of course participate in
participated in
sports, by the time I was in
sports,
high
you
school,
know,
you get a lot of
and,
black
you
kids
know, we
participating
stuck
in
out
sports by the
friends,
time
we
I
never-
was in high school.
as far as we were concerned, they were
And
no
you know,
different
we
than
stuck
anybody
out
else.
friends. The
We
skin
never-
color was different.
As far as we were concerned,
And
they were
we'd
no
have
different
friends
than
over
anybody else. Just
to the house all the time, and we'd have
I think
friends
we
over
probably
to
taught
the house all
black
the
kids
time,
Punta Gorda, the
I think
water,
we
how to
probably
water
taught
ski. Half the black kids.
So, I mean, they were always
in
over at the
Punta
house.
Gorda, the water, how to water ski.
But unfortunately, there were
So,
people
I mean,
we
they
knew
were always
our
over
age
at the
that
house.
didn't.
But
Not
unfortunately,
that.
there were people we knew
And
our
my
age.
brother
that
Louis
didn't.
really bore the brunt
Not
of that.
Because we
And my
there were-
brother
the issues
Louis
really came
really
up
bore the brunt of
after
that.
I was
Because
going
we-
away to
there-
college. The issues really came up
And
after
so
I
my
was
brother Louis, and
going
then when
away
I
to
would come
college.
home, there'd be issues, you know, and we would be out. My brother
Other-
Louis, and then
we
when
knew
I would
them.
come home, there'd be
There were
issues.
kids our age,
you know,
but
would
they
be out.
weren't real happy that we had
we
black
knew 'em.
friends for whatever.
They were kids our age,
you
you
know,
know,
but they weren't real happy that we had black
And
friends.
so how would
for
they
whatever.
express that they weren't
That was their
happy?
problem.
And so how would
well,
they express that they weren't happy?
You know, what they said, what they
Well,
called us, you know, threatening us. You know, what they said, they'd
What
follow
they
us
called
around
us.
at night, you know,
Try to
threatening
run us
us
off the road, things like that.
They'd
Just
follow
really
us
jerks.
around at night, you know, try to run us off the road, things like that.
Just really
Which is
jerks.
unfortunate because, you know, some of them were,
Grew up.
were really good
Which
friends
is
with my brother
unfortunate
because,
because,
you know, some of them
that
were,
came down.
grew up, were really
It
good
was a
friends with
shame.
my brother until all that came
And
down.
What was it like
It was a
leaving
shame.
Punta Gorda to go to college? And what was it like
Well,
leaving
you know,
Punta Gorda to
It
go
was
to
fun,
college?
but it was different. You know, I went to Florida State, Tallahassee.
It
It
was
wasn't
fun.
too. It wasn't too
You know,
different
Florida
because my
State,
mom.
Tallahassee.
It wasn't too. It wasn't too
Um,
different because my mom. She had completed 2 years of college when she married Dad. She had completed 2
And
years
once
of college.
I got to
when
be
she married
about-
Dad. And once I got to
Probably-
be about 9 or 10, probably, and by then 9 or 10, there were 3 of us.
And by
four
then-
of us, 4 kids. There were
And
3
my
of
mom
us,
decided
4
she
of
would
us,
take every
4
summer
kids.
off and pack us all
And
up.
my mom
We would go to
decided she would
Tallahassee
take
and
every
she'd go to
summer
summer
off
school.
and pack us
And
all
one
up.
of- we would go
The
to
grandparents
Tallahassee
and
she'd
Dad
go to
would
summer
take
school.
turns coming up there for a week or
And
two
one
to
of
watch us. The grandparents
while
and
she was
Dad
going
would
to
take
school.
turns coming up there for a week or
And
two
so
to
I'd
watch
been in
us
Tallahassee
while
quite a
she
bit
was going to school.
by the time I
And
went
so
to
I'd
college.
been in
so
Tallahassee
it really wasn't
quite a
it was
bit.
like almost like going home.
By the time I
was
went to college,
used
so
to be
it
in there
really
familiar
wasn't-
with the
it
place,
was like
almost
liked
like
it.
going home because I was used to being
What'd
there
you
and
study?
familiar with the place and liked it.
Well, I started out, I was going to
What'd
be
you
a
study?
marine biologist, but well, I started
Physics
out,
gotta
I was
be
going
a
to
little
be
too
a
much
marine
for me in the
biologist,
foreign
but
languages,
so the physics got to be a
And
little
I'd
too
always
much
thought I
for me in
wanted
the
to
foreign
teach.
languages, so I
felt like I wanted to teach and coach.
And I'd always thought I
was
wanted to
involved in
teach.
athletics growing up.
Felt
My
like
dad
I wanted to
coached.
teach and coach, you know, when I was
growing
involved
up.
in athletics growing
And
up.
so
My
I
dad
changed my major
coached,
to physical education,
you know, when I was growing up.
And what did
And
you
so I
coach?
changed my major to
I
physical
never did.
education.
Well,
And
I
what'd you
got
coach?
when I graduated.
I never did.
Well,
I graduated like mid-year.
I got
in December,
when I graduated.
rather than
I graduated
at the
like
end of the
mid-year
regular school year.
in December,
rather than
and so I was
at
trying
the
to
end
get
of
a
the
job
regular
teaching,
school
but
year.
that didn't work out. And in the meantime, I was
And
offered
so,
a job.
I
I was trying to get a job teaching, but that didn't work out. And in the meantime, I was
So I
offered
never,
a job.
I substitute taught for about a year.
Property appraiser's office.
You know,
So I never, I substitute
But,
taught for about a
the
year.
only thing I really
ever
you know,
coach, well, I coached swimming
but
in the summertime.
the only thing I really ever coached,
Well, I coached
AAU
swimming
for the county. I
in the
worked
summertime.
county, at the Smoke County pool.
AAU for the
And then
county.
I coached pot
worked
water
for the county
football with my
at the
dad
Smoke County pool
for several years.
And then I coached
What
pot
was it
water
like working
football
with
with my
your
dad for several
It was
years.
interesting.
What was it like working with your dad?
No, it was great.
It was
He's
interesting.
a funny guy.
Still alive.
No, it
97
was
years
great.
old.
He's a funny guy. Yeah.
Still alive, 97 years
What
old.
was it like to leave Punta Gorda
Yeah.
and then like come back? Did you notice any changes?
What was
when
it
you
like
came
to
back from
leave
college? Punta Gorda and then like come back? Did
Well, you know, I
notice
would come
any
back every
changes
summer
when you
because
came
I had
back from college?
I had a job.
Pretty much.
Well, you know, I would
guaranteed
come
job
back
in the
every summer
summertime.
because I
So
had
I
a
would come back
I had
every
a
summer.
job, pretty much a
And
guaranteed
to
job
work
in the
save money
summertime.
for the
So
next
I would
school
come back
year.
every summer. And yeah,
And
you
to
know,
work
when
to save money for the
it
next
got
school
worse,
year.
you know, I
And
graduated
yeah,
in
you know, when
1969. It got worse, you know, I
But,
graduated in 1969. You know, the
but,
racial
uh,
issues, unfortunately, when I would come back after a year or so.
You know, the
they had
racial
gotten a little
issues,
worse.
unfortunately,
But
when
again,
I
it
was
was come back
You know,
after a
people
year or
we
so,
knew, they
had
didn't like the
gotten
fact
a
that
little
we had
worse.
black friends.
But again, it was
for whatever reason it bothered them.
people we knew, they didn't
What
like
do
the
you think
fact
was
that we had
making
black
it
friends.
You know, for whatever reason it bothered them.
What do you think was making it worse?
It's hard to say. I mean, I really don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know why it would have been worse, you know, unless. I don't know why it would have been worse, you know, unless.
Maybe
I
those
don't know.
guys got older where they could drive. Maybe those
see 'em
guys
more
got
often, run
those
into
guys
'em
got
more
older
often,
where they
so.
could drive, and
What
we
were
would
some
see
of
them more
the
often, run into them more often.
bigger
you know,
social
so.
spots in Punta Gorda?
What were some of
Social
the
spots.
Bigger social spots in Punta Gorda?
Social spots.
It's funny. I always tell people you could tell how the place has grown. I always tell people high school kids used to party. You could tell how the place has grown by where high school kids used to party. Do you know where the New York section is? In high school, Charlotte, right off of Conway Boulevard. You know where Conway Boulevard is? The New York section is right off of Conway. Charlotte, right off of Conway Boulevard. That's where we party when I was in high school.
Was it like
Right
a
off of
house
Conway.
or-
No, it was just that's where we partied when I was in high school. No houses, just
Was it
woods
like
with
a
streets
house
in
or-
it. No, it was just like parts of Port Charlotte are today. No houses, just woods with streets in it. Today that's way out. You know, like parts of Port Charlotte are today. Right in the middle of Port Charlotte. You know, today that's way out on the edge. That's how much things have changed. Right in the middle
What were
of
the
Port
parties
Charlotte.
like?
So that's how much things have changed.
What were the
Go
parties
get a
like?
case of beer and go with just a bunch of friends on the street. You know, get a case of beer and drink beer. Go park with a bunch of friends on the street. Normal high school kids drink beer. You know, like normal high school
Would you say
kids.
the social spots were decently integrated? Would you say the social
Um,
spots were decently integrated?
No, I mean if it was just us, I mean if it was just around, but typically, we'd have black friends around, but typically,
Do you know where
No.
the black social spots were?
no, I don't
Do
offhand.
you know where the black social spots
Our house
were?
a lot. No, I don't offhand. You know, kids were over the house
Our
every
house a
weekend.
lot.
We were on the
Like I
water
said,
and we had a boat. You know, kids were over the house every weekend because we were on the water and we had a
You think
boat.
sports was like a really big factor in
Right.
integration.
So, it sounds like
you think sports was like a really big
Was
factor
there tension
in
in
Right.
sports, or do you
integration?
think
It became much easier.
I don't remember any.
Was there tension in
Yeah.
sports, or do you think it became
Um,
much easier?
I don't remember any. That's not to say that there weren't, but I don't remember. That's not to say that there weren't, but I don't remember. On the same team, they worked together, they got along. That being a situation, I mean, everybody was on the same team, they worked together, they got along.
Were they usually
As
integrated?
far as I know.
The teams
Yeah.
that you played against, were they usually
By
integrated?
then, by 1967, 66, 67,
By then,
most of the
by
schools were
1967,
integrated. 66, 67, most of the
I didn't think
schools
about
were
it.
integrated.
You know, I mean, it was just, I mean, you're playing football or
I
running
didn't
track.
think about it.
You know, I mean, it was
yeah, there might have been a black
you're
kid
playing
on the team,
football
there
or
might not have
running
been.
track.
I mean, I really, and
I know there were black kids
on
on
some
some
teams, there
teams,
might not have been. I
I
can't say
can't
they were on all the teams. I know there were black kids on some of the teams. I can't say they were on all the teams.
Who were some of your closest friends during this time period? Who were some of your closest friends?
Well, I
during
had
this
white
time
friends and
period?
black friends. Well, I had real
White
close
friends and
friends.
black
Clint
friends.
Johnson, he grew up here. A real close friend was Clint Johnson. Athlete. He grew up here. He was working as a teacher's aide. He was a real good athlete.
High school at Charlotte High.
He was working
When I
as a
was
teacher's aide.
Junior,
At
senior.
high school at Charlotte
High.
And when I was, I
Senior.
knew of him.
Didn't really know him because he was a pretty good athlete.
I knew
Older than
of
me.
him. A couple years
Didn't really
older
know
than
him
me.
because he was a pretty good athlete.
And,
Older than me.
But
Couple
we
years
just
older
because he
than
was
me.
a teacher's
And,
aide at school.
But we
I
just
just
saw
saw
him
him
a
a
lot,
lot,
so got to be good buddies.
Teacher's
with
aide
him
at
and,
school,
I just saw him a lot, so got to be good buddies.
That's
with
how
him
we
and,
kind of got started,
with
hanging
hanging
with
with his
black
family
kids hanging around with us.
That's how we kind of got
Spending
started,
time,
with hanging around, with the black
Do you
kids hanging around
remember
with us.
Any
Spending time
situations
together.
or attitudes
Do you
surrounding
remember
like interracial dating? Any situations
Dating?
or attitudes surrounding
Yeah.
like interracial dating?
Dating, I mean, the story goes that there was a. This is back when I was in
the
junior
story
high.
goes that there was a
kid. I
This
don't
is back
remember
when I
his
was in
name.
junior
He was
high.
in high school. There was a kid.
And
I
he
don't
was
remember
dating
his
a black
name.
girl.
He was in high school, and some of the kids
And
grabbed
he
him
was
one day
dating
and
a
hung him
black
out the
girl.
window.
At the high school,
And
did,
some of the
but
kids
threatened
grabbed
to
him
drop
one day
him
and hung him out the
never-
window.
They didn't, fortunately.
The high school didn't, but
threatened
I
to
was
drop
younger,
him,
but
they
that's
never-
the
they
story
didn't,
I remember. Is
fortunately.
that's why that happened. I was younger, but that's the story I remember. Is that's why that happened. But I'm not. I mean, Clint, my buddy Clint. But I'm not.
White,
Clint.
white girls every now and then.
My buddy Clint dated, and one of the funniest things I remember
White girls every now and then.
is, and one of the funniest things
We were
I
double
remember
dating one time. We went to the
is,
movies in Fort Myers. And
we
so
were
double dating
prank.
one time. We went to the movies in
Movies.
Fort Myers.
And so it's a
my-
prank.
My girlfriend at the time was Terry. His was
Bell.
my girlfriend at the time
And
was
so
Terry.
we
His
pulled
was
into the parking lot and said,
Bell.
"Hey, wait a minute."
I said, Clint, why don't you walk in with
And so,
Terry?
okay, we pulled into the parking
And
lot.
I'll
and said,
count
"Hey,
to
wait a
20
minute."
and then I'll
Clint,
walk
why
in
don't you
with
walk
Bell?
in with Terry?
The boy that looks
And
we
I'll
got
count
and
to
20 and then I'll walk in with Bell.
Yeah.
The boy that
I mean,
looks
there were
we
no.
got
I don't
and
remember
20.
anybody saying anything to us or threatening us. But I mean,
the
there were
look
no.
we
I
got
don't
were-
remember anybody saying anything to us
You know,
or
I mean,
threatening us.
it was
but
probably
the look
enough of
we
a
got
shock for
were-
them to.
They'd probably seen You know,
black
me,
guy
I
with
was
a white
there was
girl
probably
before,
enough
but probably
shock
never
for
seen
them.
many
They've
white
probably
guys with black
seen
girls. A black guy
Why
with a
do you
white
think
girl
that was?
before, but probably never
Why do you
seen
think
many
that
white
was?
guys with black
I don't
girls.
know. It just, you
What do you
know,
think that
I mean,
was?
I don't really
Why do you
know.
think that was?
I don't know. It just, you know, I mean,
But it was
I don't
pretty
really
fun.
know.
Do you think that
But, it was
Punta
pretty
Gorda
fun.
as a town is like
Do you think
characteristic
that
of the
Punta
larger
Gorda
United
as a
States
town is like
racial relations, or do you think it was
characteristic
different
of
of
the
the
larger
larger United States?
You know, I think,
racial relations, or do you think it was different in some way?
I'd say yes and no. You know, I think, I'd say yes and no. I mean, I think, you know, it's a small town. I mean, I don't remember any of my grandparents, it's a small town,
ever using the N-word.
I mean, I don't remember any of my grandparents
I don't think
ever
they-
using the N-word.
Obviously, they didn't
I don't
believe
think
in
they,
that.
and, you know, I can remember when my
Obviously,
granddad,
they didn't believe in
well,
that.
the story I don't
And,
remember. You know, I
the
can remember
story
when my
goes
granddad,
that-
well, the
granddad
story I don't remember.
came down and opened the movie theater.
The
Of course, they were
story
from upstate
goes
New
that
York.
when my
So
granddad
they used to have black
came
folks
down
around
and
and
opened the
doing
movie
things
theater.
with
Of course,
black
they were from
folks.
upstate New
Whether they
York,
were
so
good friends,
they
they
were
used to
not.
have black folks around and doing things with black folks.
And the story
Whether they were
goes
good
that
friends or
some
not.
black folks came to him and said, "You know, Mr. Desguin,
And the story
how- what do you
goes
think
that
about letting us
some
come
black
to
folks came to
the
him and
theater?
said,
We'll
"You
sit
know,
in the
Mr.
balcony."
Desguin, what do you think about
And my
letting us come
granddad
to
said,
the theater? We'll sit in the
you know,
balcony."
at the time he thought,
And my granddad,
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well,
You know, at the time he thought,
went, mentioned
yeah,
this
there's
to some
nothing
people, and they said,
wrong
you
with
know,
that. Well,
we wouldn't
he went,
recommend that.
mentioned this to some
You
people,
probably
and they
shouldn't
said,
do
you know,
that.
You could have some problems.
We
This
wouldn't
was, you know,
recommend that.
late 30s.
You know, you probably shouldn't do that. You could
And
have some
so
problems.
he
This was,
decided,
you know,
late
to,
30s.
I mean,
And so he
you know,
decided
talk about
to,
it. You know, people. Some people might say he was just an
mean,
entrepreneur, but
you know,
when I
it
talk
doesn't-
about it, I
he
say,
didn't
you know,
have to
people-
do it.
Some people might
He
say
rented
he
a
was just
warehouse.
an entrepreneur, but in the
It
black
doesn't-
section,
he
of
didn't
town,
have to do it. He rented a warehouse,
put in bleacher seats,
in the black section of town,
bought a projector,
put in bleacher
and they'd
seats,
start the movie at
bought a projector,
the theater in town,
and they'd
and then
start
my dad
the
and
movie at my uncle,
the theater in
when
town.
they'd get done with
And
the
then my
cartoon
dad
in the
and
first reel
my
here,
uncle,
they'd show it to the, when they would
theater
get
in
done
black
with the
section of
cartoon in the
town.
first reel
And he'd
here,
show
they'd
the
show,
theater,
show the film there, and they would show the
theater
real
in
black
black
section
forth.
of town.
And he'd
So,
show
I
the
mean,
theater,
until
show the
then,
film
black
there, and they
folks
would show
didn't
the
have any
real
place to
black
go to the
forth.
theater. So, I mean, until
And,
then, black folks
you know,
didn't have any place to go.
You know,
to
I've
the
been
theater.
told over from different people that
And,
that's what they really
you know,
remember about. You know,
the
I've been
Desguins,
told
you know,
over
they brought
from different
they brought
people that
moving
that's what they
pictures to
really
black
remember
folks in
about
town.
the
My
Desguins.
granddad
you know, they
didn't. I mean, I'm really
they brought
proud of
moving
that.
pictures
He didn't
to
have to
the
do
black
that,
folks in
but
town.
he did it.
He
My
did.
granddad didn't. I mean, I'm really proud
So
of
I think
that.
people
He didn't have to
appreciate
do
it.
that, but he did it.
Growing
He
up,
did.
do you remember?
So I think
ever-
people appreciated that.
Did you hang out often
Growing up,
in the
do
black
you
section of town? Remember ever? Did you hang out often in the black section of town?
No, you know, we would go to parties. And, no, you know, we would go to parties. You know, not like every weekend, but we would go to parties. It doesn't seem like it was old. You know, not like every weekend, but we would go to parties. I remember one night, there were two black bars. But I remember one night, there were two black bars in the black section, Ward's Bar and Gallman's Bar. In the black section, Ward's Bar and Gallman's Bar. And they were there on their
Housing
Martin
Authority
Luther King
properties
were the,
are.
And I remember going in there one
Housing
night with
Authority
Clint.
properties are.
And I remember going in there
These
one
guys
night
are in there
with
from
Clint.
Fort Myers.
And they walked up to me and said, "What the hell are you
And
doing?"
these guys
here?"
were in there from Fort Myers,
you know. They
Which
walked.
I can
up to me and said,
understand that.
"What
They
the hell
got
are you
treated
doing
like
here?"
crap by white folks, so
You know, this is our place. What the
I
hell
can
are you doing
understand that.
here?
They got treated like
Clint
crap by
walked
white
up and
folks.
said, "Leave him alone.
You know,
he's
this is
with
our
me."
place. What the hell are you doing here?
From that, I never.
Clint
cool,
walked up
you
and
know.
said, "Leave him alone. He's with me."
But it is. It's.
Cool,
I mean, I can
you know.
understand how. But it is.
Minorities
It's.
can feel.
I can
'cause I've
understand
been in
how
places where I was the only white guy.
minorities can feel.
And
I mean,
because
I didn't feel threatened. I just feel
white guy.
weird. It was just different
because
and
you
I-
weren't
and
used
it-
to it.
I didn't feel threatened. I just feel weird. It was just different.
That's the only
'cause you
time
weren't
I
used
can
to
ever
it, you know?
remember
Going into a black.
That's the only time I
business
can ever
establishment.
remember
Going into a black business
you know,
establishment.
probably because of what happened. But anyway, I mean, we didn't think much of it. You know,
Mhm.
probably because of what happened.
And
but anyway,
do you ever
we didn't think
remember
much of it. You
being
know.
in situations where like you were with
And
Clint
do you ever
or another black
remember
friend in a white part
being
of
in
town where there was
situations where,
a
like,
similar
you were
type
with-
of Clint or another black friend
Oh, yeah.
in a white part of town where there was a similar
Yeah,
type
I mean,
of
we were. Oh yeah.
We were about to run off the road one
Yeah,
night.
I mean, we were.
We were about to run off the
And
road
it
one
was,
night.
it was unfortunate, you know, because there
And
weren't
it
a
was
lot of
it was
major issues
unfortunate,
in
you know,
Punta Gorda,
because
but there were still folks that didn't think
there weren't
a lot of
folks
major
that
issues in Punta
white
Gorda,
folks
but
should be
there were
hanging
still
out
folks
together.
that didn't think,
You
you
know,
know,
black folks weren't equal.
white folks should be hanging out together. And, you know, black folks weren't
You know,
equal.
and
We
we
experienced
experienced
some of
some
that.
of
I mean, you know, we were, you know, we experienced some of that.
I mean,
There was one night, we were 3 or 4 of us in the car with Clint. There was one night there was three or four of us in the car with Clint. I think somebody was threatening him because we were with him. I think somebody was threatening him because, like I said, he was a tough guy. With him. And they were going to find him. Go out, we'll tough guy. Go out here and they said, meet you. Go out, we'll get this settled. Well, go out here and meet you. We go out where they said they were going to meet us. Here comes 5 or 6 cars of white. And we said, we go out where they said they were going to meet us, and here comes 5 or 6 cars of white. And we said, okay, we got out of there. They tried to run us off the road. So we got out of there. The cops stopped us. They tried to run us off the road. White kids picked us up. Of course, the cops stopped us and then picked us up. Not white kids picked us up. And then, when the sheriff was second in command, he kind of told Clint, the sheriff who was second in command, he kind of, you don't need to, told Clint, you just stay in your own side. You had people that could be jerks. It was unfortunate. So you had people that could be jerks.
Do you ever remember how Clint?
I think he was pretty easygoing because he knew. Black folks. I think he was pretty easygoing because he knew. It's not as bad today. Black folks back in the mid-late '60s. It's not as bad today, but could be heroin. Back in the mid-late '60s, it was. And I'd be heroin. I would guess that the parents back then, and I'm sure I would guess same thing they tell them today. If you're out, told their kids stop, and they tell them today. If you're out, just. You get stopped, cause anything. Just if you're by yourself, just try and get out of the situation. I know it got another. Cause anything. Just if you're by yourself, Johnny Lloyd, Big John. I know it got another. Good. He tells Johnny Lloyd, Big John. He said his daddy would always tell him. He tells a story. If you're with a group of white folks, he said his daddy would always tell him. The nicest one leaves. If you're with a group of white folks, when the nicest one leaves, you leave. But Clint, I don't remember him getting angry. I'm sure he. But Clint, I don't remember him getting angry. I'm sure he wasn't wary to back down, but he could handle himself. So he wasn't a problem when there's 8 or 10 people standing around you. There's no sense in causing a problem when there's 8 or 10 people standing around you.
Organized white nationalism. Do you remember any type of
No, I don't.
Organized white nationalism.
Like I said, it was just no. And there's always one or two ringleaders. Whether all the kids felt that way, there's always one or two ringleaders. Whether all the kids felt that way, there were 2 or 3 older kids that were. You don't know. They were trying to wrestle around. Most of them were younger, but there were 2 or 3 older kids that were always trying to corner us, confront us. They'd see us out. Of course, it was always trying. Maybe me by myself or my brother by myself. But the 2 of us, it was always 10 or 15 of them. Maybe me by myself or my brother by myself, or the 2 of us, and there'd be 10 or 15 of them. That's how tough they were,
What do you?
And what's really funny about it is my brother had long hair, I had long hair because I was in school. And what's really funny about it, now they've all got long hair. My brother had long hair, I had long hair because I was in school. Now they've all got long hair. You know what I mean?
What are some of the positive changes that you've seen that you remember? What are some of the positive changes that you've seen that you remember seeing?
I don't think
happen.
I see more kids today certainly that have black friends. I see more kids today certainly that have sons that black friends. My grandkids have black friends. My sons have black friends. Good friends. Our grandson Braden, who just came out here, he's got a couple of black. But I'm over here all the time. Our grandson Braden, and there's came out here, he's got a couple of black. It's not a big deal anymore, which I think is great. And there's nothing to it. So it's not a big deal anymore, which I think is great.
That you think is maybe worse than it was? Is there anything now that you think is maybe worse? Than it was?
I don't think so. There's always idiots out there. I don't think so. There's always. I know one of the guys that used to cause issues with us. And I know one of the guys. Hey, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. But I see him often. Told me that hey, how you doing? Blah blah blah. But people have told me that he still calls my family nigger lovers. He's 70 years old. There's nothing he can't get over it. Really? He's 70 years old, but he can't get over it. But I'm still friendly with him. I don't know. You've never said that to me. But I'm still friendly with him. Not since high school. I don't know. You've never said that to me. But not since high school. I got too many other important things to worry about that. So I just kind of, I talk to him like he's my best friend. I got too many other important things. I don't know if it bothers him or not. So I just kind of, I talk to him like he's my best friend. I don't know if it bothers him or not. Maybe it doesn't. Too bad.
Growing up in Punta Gorda are still around. How many people from?
Not many my age.
In Punta Gorda are still around.
Is not many my age. Because in the late '60s, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for now. The guys that stayed around
and worked in construction. The guys that stayed around
companies
and worked in construction,
they did very well. A lot of them ended up with their own companies.
Kids that went to college,
and they did very well.
Got degrees in engineering, architecture.
Kids that went to college,
things like that. They got degrees in engineering,
teachers,
architecture.
but some of them would come
things
back.
like that.
Most of the guys, but most of the people that
teachers
got other,
but
some of them would come back.
Degrees, there wasn't anything
most
for
people
them.
that got other, and so they went off
degrees. There wasn't anything here for them.
But, most of the guys
so
I know
that I
went
went
to
to
school
school
with
with
that
that
were still here.
But most of the guys I know that I went to school with
that
that
were
were
still
still here,
they went into construction. Have their own
unfortunately, a lot of them
companies.
passed on.
They went into
Did
construction.
most
Have
of
their
the
own
people
companies.
from like the Charlotte high school area?
Did
most of the people from like the Charlotte
I wouldn't say most. I mean,
did most people go to college?
the people I hung out
I
with.
wouldn't say most. I
for
mean,
whatever reason, most of them did go off.
The
to
people
college,
I hung
like
out
did.
with, for whatever reason, most of them did go off to college, like I did.
I mean,
maybe half and half, I mean, because a lot of kids I went to
But I
school
mean,
with
that I grew up with.
maybe half and
Like I
half.
said, they stayed here, they
a lot of
started
kids
working
I
for
went to
somebody
school
else
with that I grew up with.
ended up with their
Like I
own.
said, they stayed here, they started working for
company,
somebody
plumbing
else,
company,
ended up with their own
electrical.
a lot of
company,
them did.
plumbing company,
How have you
construction
seen
company,
like
whatever.
Punta
they-
Gorda's
a lot of them
economy
did.
and industry change? How have you seen like Punta Gorda's
Well, obviously it's
economy
bigger
and
now.
industry change?
I mean, back when I was a kid, fishing.
Well,
was still
obviously it's
pretty
bigger
big.
now.
I mean, back when I was a kid, fishing.
Port Charlotte was
still
just
pretty
starting
big.
out,
And PGI just starting
you know,
out.
Port Charlotte was just starting
Of course,
out.
now, I mean,
PGI just starting
the
out.
range of the economy, I mean, it's still,
Of course, now, I
tourist
mean,
destination. The range of the economy, I mean, it's still
this tourist
the
destination.
different types of, but,
aspects of the economy.
the different
are certainly
types
much
of greater now than
aspects
they
of
were,
the economy.
and a
are
lot of
certainly
kids,
much.
even though
Greater
they go off
now
to college,
than
they
come
come
back.
back, and a lot of
They come
kids
back to teach. They come back to get a job
even
in
though they go off to
engineering.
college, they
There's
come
some
back.
more,
They come back.
Back when I was a
They
kid,
come
there
back
might have
to
been
get
two
a job in
architectural
engineering.
firms and
Because there's so
one
many more,
engineering
you know,
firm.
back when I was a kid, there might have been
But
two
now
architectural
they're
firms
everywhere.
and one engineering firm,
But now they're everywhere.
And how do you think that well, one, do you think that was Punta Gorda always a place for like snowbirds? Well, one, do you think that was Punta Gorda always
Well,
a place for like snowbirds?
The late mid-'60s, they always say that if it weren't for, the late mid-'60s,
mosquito control and
they
air
always say that
conditioning, Punta
if it
Gorda,
weren't
Florida
for
would still be a frontier.
mosquito control and air
So, I mean,
conditioning,
it really
Punta
didn't
Gorda,
boom.
Florida would still be a frontier
Until probably
So,
the
it really
late
didn't
60s,
boom.
mid-late 60s.
Because even in the late
Until
60s,
probably the late 60s,
Midway Boulevard, there
mid-late
was only one
60s.
house. Even in the late 60s,
Midway and nothing.
Midway Boulevard, there was
Between
only
there
one
and then there
house.
was, a Midway
Murdoch.
and nothing.
With the store
Between there and
that was it.
Between
Murdoch.
Midway Boulevard and
The
Venice,
store.
that was it. Between
Maybe Northport
Midway
had started
Boulevard
by
and
then,
Venice,
too.
there was nothing.
Maybe Northport had
it's
started
big,
by then,
Big
too.
change, big change.
Yeah, it's
do you think
big,
most people
big
in
change.
Punta Gorda are
Big change.
aware
yeah.
of the history of the city? Do you think most people in Punta Gorda
I'd say
are
no.
aware
Probably
of the history
not.
of the
I
city?
mean, unfortunately, I'd say no. Probably not. I mean,
You know,
unfortunately,
people come here and they like it here.
People come here, but they're not from here.
And they like it
And
here.
So many of them,
But they're not
they'll
from here.
And so
You know,
many
they
of
leave
them,
money to the
they'll-
library back in their hometown, or to do it back in their hometown.
Yeah,
or
they leave money
die
to
and
the
they go
library
back in their hometown.
up north to
and that's where they're
back in their
buried.
hometown, or
They die and
this
they go
wasn't their
back
home.
up north.
It's just a place
That's
they
where they're
visited.
buried. Because
And not all of them were like
this wasn't
that.
their home. It's just a
And
place
there
they
certainly
visited.
are folks
And
that
not
move
all of
down
them are
here
like
and
that.
become really interested in
And there
history.
certainly are folks
And
that
those
move
are the
down
people
here and
folks I
become really interested
admire
in
and
history.
appreciate.
And those
They're
are
not
the
from
people
here, but
folks
they
I
care
really
about the place. They
admire
admire and
history.
appreciate. They're not from here, but they care about.
I do the best I
They care
can.
about
I
history.
do a history-related column every other
I do
week
the
in
best I
paper.
can. I do it.
And hopefully, a history-related column every other
I
week.
run
in
into
the
people
paper.
and they say, hey,
And
I
hopefully,
love your
column,
column.
I read it all, blah,
You
blah.
know,
I run into people and they say, hey,
So
I
I
love
do
your
my
column,
part. I do the
read
best
it
I
all,
can to
blah,
help
blah.
people learn the history.
So I do my part. I do the
But
best I can to help people
unfortunately,
learn
I would
history.
guess that the majority of the
But
folks that are here,
unfortunately, I would guess
don't.
that
They
majority
may like
of
the
the
place,
folks
but
that
they
are
don't
here
give history much thought, and don't.
They may
There's
like the
always
place,
the
but they
story
don't
that
give history much thought.
Vernon Peoples always said
There's
that
always the story
50% of the
that,
population turns over every
Vernon
10
Peoples
years.
always said that
50% of the population turns over
Do you
every
think
8
it's
to 10
important
years.
that more people know the history?
I do.
Do you think
I
it's important
think
that
people
more
would
people know the
appreciate
history?
the area.
I do.
More
I
if they
think
had a
people
better
would
understanding
appreciate
of the
the
area.
history.
And that
More
things
if
went
they
on
had
in
a
Punta
better
Gorda
understanding
before they
of the
moved
history.
here. And
so many of them are like,
I've been here all 2 weeks and I know everything now. Because so many of them are like, or I've been here all 2 weeks and don't let anybody else come down. Or I've been here changing the place. Yeah, tell me. Don't let anybody else come down. But because you're changing the place, yeah, tell me about it.
I noticed that the street
But,
is also your last name. I noticed that. You know how that came to be?
Yeah,
Also your last
that's
name.
an interesting
You
story.
know how that came to be?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. The folks that created this subdivision with this noble subdivision. The folks that created this subdivision with the library noble subdivision. Now, the old library building was a library building is. Now, the old library playground public use. And this was actually the entrance road. Platted as a playground to the playground. And this was actually the entrance road. And that's why it's narrow. It doesn't to the playground meet the requirements of a city street. And that's why it's narrow. It's not a 40-foot right-of-way. Meet the requirements of a city street. It was unnamed. 40-foot right-of-way. And was unnamed. When my wife bought the place, and after a while she thought, when my wife bought the place, she started looking into it. After a while she thought, getting it named. Because it was unnamed. She started looking into it. We went through, it took us 7 years. Because it was unnamed. And when it started out, she finally got frustrated with it after 3 or 4 years, and it was going to cost us a lot of money. And when it started out, she finally got frustrated with it after 3 or 4 years. She wanted to do it to honor my dad. Money, and I said, that's fine. I think it's a great idea. She wanted to do it to honor my dad. So she kind of got frustrated and dropped the ball. Didn't drop the ball. She got frustrated and dropped the ball and didn't drop the ball. She just said, after I don't know 6 months or after that, I thought, well, I'm going to try it. After it took 6 months, we decided to take a little bit different tack than she had initially. We decided to take a little bit different tack than she had. We're not asking you to change the street. We're not asking you to name this street. Change the unnamed. And there are two houses that name this street because it's really an address issue. And there are two houses problem because, and I said, really, it's an address issue and it's a safety problem. Even though we face the street now, even though we face the address. The street now, and we've watched FedEx go around the block 5 times trying to find us. We've watched FedEx go around the block 5 times. Imagine how hard it is to find FedEx can't find it. That's the kind of the approach. Just imagine how hard it is to find for safety reason. That's the kind of we think it'd be a cool thing, and there's no name on safety reason, and we only got one neighbor. We think it'd be a cool thing, and there's no name on that street anyway. After about 7 years, she doesn't have a problem. Finally, we convinced zoning. So after about 7 years, the city council didn't cost us anything. Zoning and city council run is going to cost that big a deal. It didn't cost us anything, and in the run it's going to cost us hundreds of dollars to do. That's a good idea, and so they did. And we finally convinced them. Unfortunately, the street signs are gone now. A good idea, and so they did it.
Did you get to keep them?
Unfortunately, the street signs are gone now. Well, no, but one of my sons did take one. I mean, the hurricane. Well, no, but one of my sons did. And they asked you not to take them. The hurricane blew them. Went south there for a long time, and they asked you not to take them. I didn't realize my son. And went south there for a long time, and we were over at his place a few months ago. My son's had taken it. He starts laughing. He said, "Did you see?" We were over at his place a few months ago. He starts laughing. He said, "Did you see? I got your street signs." I said, "I'm in the living room." I go, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Hopefully they'll get them back up." I wonder
what year was it?
But hopefully they'll get them back up.
What year?
It was right before the hurricane. So did we? It was right before the hurricane. So it might have been 2 or 3 years ago. Right before hurricane, and we actually got the street signs up and the stop sign ago. Now, but it is kind of street signs up and the stop sign.
Has your father gotten a chance to see it?
He knows about it, but he's.
Has your father gotten a chance to see it?
He knows about it, but he's. Because again, she's just 10 years ago. My wife's idea was. We didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. Because again, she's just 10 years ago now. She wanted to do a chamber. We didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. Chamber. So she wanted to do a chamber, but she's real involved in hors d'oeuvres, but. So she went. He's 97 now, and he's okay. He does okay. He's 97 now, but he's got dementia. He's okay. He does okay. It could be worse than it is. He's got dementia, but he's not kind of frail. It could be worse than it is. So we kind of. But he's kind of frail. He knows, getting around. He won't remember that his dad's been lame, but we tell him. He knows. Remind him of that. He won't remember that his dad's been lame, but we tell him. Remind him of that.
Is there anything about the history of race or just Punta Gorda in general that we haven't covered? Is there anything about the history of race or just Punta Gorda in general that we haven't covered that you think?
No, well, just that I'm glad that. I'm glad things have gotten a lot better than they used to be. I'm glad things have come along and gotten a lot better than they used to be. And I think the kids today don't see color. nearly like they used to be. And the kids today don't see color, you know, because nearly like they used to be.
Kids,
and unfortunately, it's the
they don't know the difference,
you know, because
little kids,
by the time they get into junior high,
they don't know
and
the
if they got a
difference.
parent that and doesn't like it, by the time they get into junior high, and if they got a parent,
Unfortunately, not all of them, but
doesn't like it, then they're going to know
that's just the
about
way
it.
they think it should be.
Unfortunately,
It's not
not
nearly,
nearly, but unfortunately, the way it used
that's
to be.
just the way they
which I
think it
is
should be.
great.
But it's not nearly.
It was unusual the way it used to be, which I think is
Very
great.
unusual back when I
It
was growing
was
up.
unusual to have black friends.
Very unusual
Back when I was
kids to
growing
have
up,
white friends.
to have black
But
friends.
today,
you see it
black
everywhere. Kids to have white friends,
which is great.
But today,
Great.
you see
We're
it
gonna stop the
everywhere,
recording?
which is great.
Great. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay.